9 days before he died, Miyamoto Musashi wrote the Bushido. 21 precepts, written alone in a cave. No audience, no student was present to receive them. Just a dying man and a brush, and everything he had learned across 60 duels, 50 years of solitude, and a life built entirely on his own terms. He gave the manuscript to one student. Then he went back into the cave. He died 9 days later. What he left behind is not a motivational document. It is not a collection of inspiring quotes to post on walls. It is a set of laws. Precise, uncompromising, and in several places genuinely uncomfortable to read if you apply them honestly to your own life. Most people who read Musashi nod along. They feel moved. They highlight sentences. They close the book and return to the exact patterns the book was warning them against. This video is not for those people. This is for the person who is willing to sit with the discomfort of an honest question, who is willing to look at where they actually are, not where they intend to be, who understands that wisdom admired but not applied is just entertainment with a better reputation. 7 laws from the Book of 5 Rings and the Bushido, 7 moments from Musashi's life, 7 questions that will tell you exactly where you stand. Subscribe and let's begin. Who was Musashi and why these laws matter? Miyamoto Musashi was born in 1584 in Harima Province. He fought his first duel at 13 and won. He fought his last serious duel at 28 against Sasaki Kojiro on Ganryu Island. He won that one too. 60 duels across his lifetime, 0 defeats. He was not the largest man in Japan, not the fastest, not born into the best school or trained by the most celebrated master. He had no formal lineage, no prestigious academy, no noble patron funding his development. What he had was a method, a way of thinking, deciding, and acting that he refined across 50 years of solitary practice and documented in 2 texts that remain among the most studied works in Japanese history. The Book of 5 Rings, written 2 years before his death. The Bushido, written 9 days before it. Together, they contain 7 laws that, applied honestly, will change how you think, how you act, and how you move through the resistance that every important thing in life places in front of you. These are those 7 laws. Law 1. Every moment is training or it is nothing. The way of the warrior is found in death. Kyoto, 1605. Musashi is 21 years old. He is watching a senior swordsman eat a meal. The man is accomplished, respected, technically superior to most people in the room. But Musashi is not watching his technique. He is watching how he eats. The man eats the way most people eat, distracted, present enough to consume but not enough to be fully there, thinking about the afternoon while tasting the morning, present in body, absent in practice. Musashi finishes his own meal and walks away having seen something more important than any duel that day. The gap between this man's dining room and his dueling floor is enormous. 2 completely different people. One who practices when practice is required and rests when rest is permitted. Clean, sensible, normal. And completely wrong. Musashi writes in The Book of 5 Rings, "The way of strategy is the way of nature, not the way of training sessions, not the way of scheduled improvement. The way of nature, which does not have an off switch. This is the first law. Every moment is training, or it is nothing. Not dramatic training, not visible training. The quality of attention you bring to the most ordinary moment is the same quality of attention you will bring to the most important one. You do not suddenly access a higher level of presence under pressure. You perform at the level you have been practicing at consistently, across the moments when no one was watching and nothing was at stake. Most people have a gap between their ordinary moments and their important ones. They save their best attention for when it counts. This seems reasonable. It is a form of training from mediocrity. The mind that wanders during a meal will wander during a decision. The mind that rushes through morning tasks will rush through the thing that cannot be rushed. The person who is half present in ordinary conversation will be half present in the conversation that determines everything. Musashi trained his attention the same way he trained his sword, not only when it was needed, always. The meal was practice, the walk was practice, the conversation was practice, the silence was practice. Modern neuroscience describes this as attentional training. The quality of attention is a skill that transfers across contexts. Studies on expert performers consistently show that what separates elite from good is not performance in high-stakes moments, but the consistency of attention across low-stakes ones. The gap that ordinary people give themselves in ordinary moments is exactly the gap that appears when the ordinary moment becomes extraordinary. The uncomfortable question: where in your daily life are you only half present? Not because you are distracted by something important, because you have decided that this moment does not require your full attention. That is exactly where your performance ceiling is being set. The action for today: choose one ordinary activity you do every day and do it with complete attention. Not meditation, not a special practice. The meal, the commute, the first conversation of the morning. One thing, fully. Notice what changes. Law 2. Strike before the need to strike is obvious. You can only fight the way you practice. Ganryu Island, the 13th of April, 1612. Musashi arrives 2 hours late to his duel with Sasaki Kojiro. 3,000 witnesses. Kojiro waiting on the beach, furious, convinced he has already won a psychological victory. What almost no account of this duel mentions is what Musashi was doing during those 2 hours. He was not sleeping, as the popular story suggests. He was preparing, not his sword, his mind, deliberately slowing himself while Kojiro's anger built, engineering the psychological conditions of the fight before a single sword had been drawn. When he stepped off the boat, the duel was already partially decided, not by technique, by timing, by the principle he called sensen no sen in the Book of Five Rings. Strike before the strike becomes necessary. This is not about aggression. It is about the most important strategic concept in the entire book. Most people respond to problems. Musashi built the habit of acting before response became necessary. This is the second law. The person who acts before the need to act is obvious operates in a fundamentally different reality from the person who responds to what has already arrived. Think about how most people manage their lives. They address health when something hurts. They have difficult conversations when silence has become unbearable. They change their habits when the consequences of not changing have become impossible to ignore. They act when the pressure to act exceeds the discomfort of acting. This is response. It is almost always too late. Musashi's principle was not prediction. He could not see the future. It was the habit of continuous forward action, of moving toward the point of contact before the contact became unavoidable, of addressing the thing while it was still small, still manageable, still a choice rather than an emergency. The conversation you are avoiding will not become easier to have. The problem you are managing around will not resolve itself. The pattern you are aware of but have not addressed is growing while you manage it rather than change it. Sensen no sen does not require certainty about what is coming. It requires the habit of moving toward what needs to be addressed before the address becomes urgent. Modern decision research confirms the mechanism. Proactive decision-making, making decisions before external pressure forces them, consistently produces better outcomes than reactive decision-making. Not because proactive decisions are smarter, because they are made with more cognitive resources, less emotional pressure, and more available options. The person who addresses a problem at choice has more power than the person who addresses it at necessity. The uncomfortable question: what in your life are you currently managing rather than addressing? Not everything requires action. But you know the difference between managing something because it genuinely does not need attention and managing it because addressing it would require a decision you have been avoiding. Which is it? The action for today. Name one thing you have been managing rather than addressing. Write it down. Then write the first specific step toward addressing it. Not the whole solution, the first step. Take it before this week ends. Musashi spent 50 years applying these laws before he wrote them down. If this is changing how you see your own patterns, like this video, a single tap tells the algorithm this matters. And this needs to reach more people. Now we continue. Law 3. Cross at the ford, not at the easy place. It is difficult to understand the universe if you only study one planet. Edo, 1643. Musashi is 59 years old. A young samurai comes to him asking about strategy. He wants to know which school is best to train in, which style will make him most effective, which technique has produced the most victories. Musashi listens. Then he asks the young man a question. When you cross a river, how do you choose where to cross? The young man answers, at the shallowest point, where the current is weakest, where the crossing is easiest. Musashi shakes his head. You cross where the river can be crossed well, not where it can be crossed easily. The shallow point that everyone uses has been crossed so many times there is nothing left to learn from it. The ford that requires judgment, that tests your skill, that cannot be crossed without understanding the current, that is where the river teaches you. He stands. Strategy is the same. The easy path produces easy capability. The path that requires judgment produces judgment. This is the third law. Do not choose the easy crossing. Choose the correct one. Most people, when faced with a choice, optimize for friction reduction, the path that requires less discomfort, the option that other people have already validated. The approach that has the most social proof, the crossing that is already worn smooth by the people who came before. This feels like wisdom. It is often its opposite. The worn crossing works, but it produces a specific kind of performer, one who is competent within known conditions and uncertain outside them. Who has learned to move at the speed of the known path and struggles when the known path is not available? Musashi built his entire capability outside the worn crossings. He refused the formal schools. He trained across domains, sword, calligraphy, painting, Zen, strategy, finding in each one something the others could not provide. He chose the ford that required judgment repeatedly across 50 years. The result was not someone who was good within a system. It was someone who had developed the underlying judgment that systems are built on. The Book of Five Rings states this directly. From one thing, know 10,000 things. Not by studying 10,000 things. By going deep enough into one thing to find the principles that transfer everywhere. But the depth only comes from the ford that resists you. The shallow crossing does not produce depth. The uncomfortable question, where in your current life are you choosing the path of least resistance, not because it is right for you, but because it is already worn smooth? In your work, in your training, in your thinking? Where are you taking the crossing that everyone takes and calling it smart, when what you actually mean is safe? The action for today: identify one area where you have been choosing the easy crossing, not to abandon it immediately. To ask honestly, what is the easy crossing costing me in terms of capability I am not building? Then decide deliberately, not by default. Law 4. Know the times. There is timing in everything. Nara 1608, Musashi's final confrontation with the Yoshioka clan. He is facing a coordinated attack, multiple opponents, archers positioned, an ambush designed to neutralize his individual superiority through coordinated force. The standard response to an ambush is speed. Strike fast before the coordination can function. Most warriors would have moved immediately, aggressively, trying to disrupt the formation before it could close. Musashi arrived before dawn, before his opponents were fully positioned, before the archers had found their ground, before the coordination was complete. He had not responded to the timing his enemies set. He had set his own. This is the fourth law: know the times. The entire second book of the Book of Five Rings is dedicated to this principle: not what to do, when to do it. The difference between a decision made at the right time and the same decision made at the wrong one is often the difference between success and failure, regardless of the quality of the decision itself. Most people have one tempo. They move at a consistent speed regardless of what the situation requires. They respond to urgency with urgency, to slowness with slowness, matching the rhythm of the environment rather than choosing their own. Musashi identified 3 timings in the Book of Five Rings: Ken no Sen, taking the initiative; Tai no Sen, waiting and responding; Tai no Sen, responding to the response. Each has its place. The warrior who only knows one cannot master any situation that requires the others. In modern terms, knowing the times means understanding when to move fast and when to be patient, when to speak and when to be silent, when to press an advantage and when to let a situation develop before acting. When the door is open and when pressing it will close it. Most failures of strategy are not failures of capability, they are failures of timing, the right action at the wrong moment, the correct decision made too early or too late. The opportunity that required stillness met with urgency, or the moment that required speed met with deliberation. The uncomfortable question: think of something important in your life that has not produced the result you expected. Was it the wrong action, or was it the right action at the wrong time? Where are you currently moving at a tempo the situation does not require, either too fast or too slow? The action for today: choose one current situation and ask not what to do but when. Is this a moment for Ken no Sen, decisive forward action, or Tai no Sen, waiting for the right opening? The answer changes everything about what to do next. Law 5. The body of a rock. Once you have made your decision, become a rock. Raigando Cave, 1643. Musashi has been living in this cave for 2 years, writing, training, sitting in silence for hours that visitors describe as absolute. No movement, no adjustment, no visible internal weather. A student who spends 3 days with him in the cave writes afterward, "He decides and then becomes the decision. There is no gap between the resolution and the man. He is not carrying it, he is it." This is not stubbornness, it is not rigidity. It is the fourth principle of the Dokudo, which Musashi describes as becoming immovable once a decision has been made. This is the fifth law, the body of a rock. Most people make decisions and then continue to carry them as open questions. They decide and then revisit. They commit and then recalibrate based on every piece of feedback that arrives. They have decided, but they have not become the decision. The decision sits in them like a question that has been provisionally answered but could still be reopened. This produces a specific kind of weakness, not the weakness of wrong decisions, the weakness of correct decisions that are never fully executed because the executor is still partly in the deciding phase. Musashi understood that execution requires a complete transfer of energy from decision to action. As long as part of you is still deciding, that part is not executing. And the part that is not executing is not just idle, it is actively undermining the part that is. This does not mean never reconsidering. Musashi updated his thinking across 50 years of practice. What it means is that once a decision is made, it is made. The energy moves forward. The rock does not wobble. Modern research on decision psychology confirms the cost of incomplete commitment. Studies on goal pursuit consistently show that ambivalent commitment, maintaining a decision while keeping the option to reverse it open, produces significantly worse outcomes than full commitment to the same decision. Not because the decision is better when committed to fully, but because the executor is different. The uncomfortable question: what decision have you made that you are still carrying as an open question? Where have you decided in principle but not in practice? Where is the gap between your resolution and your behavior, telling you that you have not yet become the decision? The action for today: identify one decision you have made but not fully committed to. Then close the question, not by forcing certainty you do not have, by deciding that the deliberation phase is over and the execution phase has begun. The rock does not re-examine its decision to be a rock. Law 6. Think lightly of yourself. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Edo 1612. After the duel on Ganryu Island, Musashi has just killed Sasaki Kojiro, the most celebrated swordsman in Western Japan, in front of 3,000 witnesses. He is 28 years old. He has now won every significant duel he has ever fought. He walks back to his boat and leaves. No ceremony, no celebration, no lingering in the recognition. He picks up the oar and rows away while the crowd is still processing what they have seen. His student who traveled with him asks on the boat, "Does it not feel extraordinary? Does this not confirm what you are?" Musashi looks at the water. "I was watching him," he says. "I was not watching myself watching him. That is why he is dead and I am not." This is the sixth law. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. This is the most misunderstood principle in the Dokudo. People read it as a call to self-diminishment, to modesty, to the performance of humility. It is none of these things. It is a tactical instruction. The mind that is occupied with its own performance is a divided mind. Part of it is executing, part of it is watching the execution and evaluating it in real time. That watching part, the self-monitoring, self-evaluating, self-protecting part, is using cognitive resources that should be going entirely into the task. Musashi could see Kojiro completely because he was not simultaneously managing his own image. He was not thinking about how the duel would be remembered, or whether his technique was being observed correctly, or what the witnesses would say afterward. He was entirely in the duel. Kojiro, in his fury at being made to wait, was managing his own state as well as fighting. His attention was divided. Musashi's was not. The research on this is extensive. Performance psychologist Timothy Golwy described it as the interference of self-1, the conscious evaluator, with self-2, the performer. The more self-1 is active during performance, the worse the performance. Elite performers across sports, music, surgery, and combat consistently describe peak performance as the disappearance of self-consciousness, of the watching self, leaving only the doing. Thinking lightly of yourself is not low self-esteem. It is the deliberate quieting of self-monitoring during execution so that full attention can go where it is needed. It is the practice of caring about the work more than you care about how the work makes you appear. The uncomfortable question: in what area of your life is your performance being diminished by self-monitoring? Where are you watching yourself perform instead of performing? Where does the question of how you are coming across occupy attention that should be going into what you are actually doing? The action for today: in your next important task or conversation, catch the moment when you shift from doing to watching yourself do. When you notice it, return to the task without evaluating the noticing. The practice is not eliminating self-awareness. It is learning to set it down during execution and pick it up again after. Musashi applied these laws every day for 50 years before he wrote them down. If this channel is giving you something you can actually use, subscribe. New video every week. Now the final law. Law 7. Do not act following customary beliefs. Japan, 1605. Musashi refuses. For the third time, an offer to join an established sword school. The offer is generous. Prestige, income, a recognized lineage, students, the kind of institutional belonging that every serious swordsman of his era was expected to pursue. He declines without explanation. His contemporaries assume arrogance, that he believes himself above the schools, that he is too proud to be taught. They are wrong. He is not refusing because he thinks he is better than the schools. He is refusing because he has noticed something about the schools that their members cannot see from inside them. Every school teaches its students to fight like the school fights, which means every student of every school is, at the deepest level, a copy, a well-made copy, a technically proficient copy, but a copy of someone else's understanding of how to fight, rather than a genuine first-hand encounter with the question of how to fight. Musashi wanted the first-hand encounter. He wanted to find out for himself, through his own practice, through his own failures and corrections, what worked. Not what had worked for the people who came before him. This is the 7th law. Do not act following customary beliefs. The most important word in this precept is following. Musashi is not saying that customary beliefs are wrong. He is saying that following them, adopting them without examination, is a specific kind of weakness. Most of the beliefs that govern your daily life were not chosen. They were absorbed. From family, from school, from the social environment you grew up in. They feel like your beliefs because they have been with you long enough to become invisible, but many of them are inherited positions that have never been genuinely tested against your actual experience. The person who acts following customary beliefs is operating on borrowed knowledge. This works in many domains, but in the areas that matter most, in the choices that determine who you become, borrowed knowledge produces borrowed results. Musashi's method was direct examination. Take the principle, test it. Not test it in your mind by imagining scenarios.